The cafeteria smelled like overcooked vegetables and floor cleaner, just like it did every Tuesday afternoon. 12-year-old Lily sat at the corner table near the windows, the one nobody else wanted because it was too close to where the lunch staff wheeled out the garbage cans. She didn't mind, though. The solitude was better than the alternative. Her fingers moved across the table's surface in quick, practiced patterns. To anyone watching, it might have looked like she was just fidgeting, but Lily was playing a song in her mind, her fingertips pressing invisible keys, counting out rhythms that only she could hear. It was a habit she'd developed over the past year, this constant need to make music, even when there was no instrument around. "Look at her." A voice cut through the cafeteria noise. "She's doing that weird thing again." Duh. Lily's hands stopped moving. She didn't need to look up to know who was talking. Ashley Harrison and her group of friends had claimed the center tables since the first day of 6th grade. And they ruled the lunchroom like queens holding court. Ashley was the kind of girl who always had the newest phone, the trendiest clothes, and somehow managed to make everyone else feel small without even trying that hard. "I think she's pretending to play piano or something," another girl said, and several people laughed. Lily pulled her hands into her lap and stared down at her sandwich. It was peanut butter and jelly again, made on the discount bread her mom bought from the day-old bakery section. Her jacket had a small tear near the elbow that she'd tried to hide with a safety pin, and her sneakers were the same ones she'd worn since last spring, now a bit too tight and worn at the toes. She knew what the other kids thought of her. The whispers weren't exactly quiet. The new girl, who wore the same 3 outfits in rotation, the one who brought lunch from home because she was on the free meal program and didn't want anyone to see her punch card. The girl who hummed under her breath during tests and tapped out beats on her desk until teachers asked her to please stop. What none of them knew, what none of them would ever guess, was where Lily went every single day after school. While Ashley and her friends went to dance classes and soccer practice, while they met up at the mall or posted videos on social media, Lily walked 15 blocks to the Riverside Community Center. The building was old, with chipped paint and a front door that stuck in humid weather, but it was open to anyone in the neighborhood. Most kids went there for the after-school program or to play basketball in the gym. Lily went for something else entirely. Past the main lobby, down a hallway lined with faded bulletin boards and children's artwork, there was a storage room that nobody seemed to remember existed. Inside that room, pushed against the back wall under a flickering fluorescent light, sat an upright piano. The piano was old, probably older than Lily's mom. Its wood finish was scratched and faded, and several of the keys had yellowed with age. Some of the felt hammers inside were worn down, giving certain notes a tinny quality. The bench wobbled if you didn't sit in exactly the right spot. To Lily, it was the most beautiful thing in the world. She'd discovered it by accident 4 months ago, wandering the community center while her mom finished a job interview in the building next door. The storage room door had been propped open, and she'd spotted the piano immediately. Her heart had actually skipped a beat. She'd walked over to it like someone in a trance, lifted the fallboard cover, and pressed a single key. The note that rang out was slightly out of tune, but it was real. It was music. Mr. Chen, the community center director, had found her there an hour later, completely absorbed in picking out a simple melody by ear. He was a kind man, with gray hair and laugh lines around his eyes. Instead of scolding her for being in the storage room, he'd simply asked if she played piano. "No," Lily had admitted. Mr. Chen had smiled. "This old thing hasn't been played in years. The church donated it when they got a new one. Tell you what, if you help me clear out some of this storage mess, you can come practice whenever you want. Deal?" Lily had spent the next 3 afternoons hauling boxes and organizing shelves. She would have done anything for access to that piano. Now, 4 months later, she came to that storage room every single day. She'd taught herself to play using free videos on her mom's old tablet, watching tutorials over and over until her fingers understood what to do. She'd printed out sheet music at the library and studied it during class when she was supposed to be doing other work. She practiced scales until her hands ached, learned chords until she could play them in her sleep. The piano became her escape. When she sat on that wobbly bench and put her fingers on those yellowed keys, she wasn't the poor girl with the torn jacket and the too small shoes. She wasn't the target of whispers and sideways glances. She was just a girl, and her music, and nothing else mattered. Lily had always loved music. Even as a little kid, she'd made up songs and hummed constantly. Her grandmother, before she'd passed away, used to say that Lily had music in her blood. Her grandmother had played piano back in the old country, performed in concerts and taught lessons. But when she'd come to America, there had been no time or money for music, just work and bills and trying to survive. "Maybe you'll be the one to bring music back to our family," her grandmother had told her once, holding Lily's small hands in her wrinkled ones. "Maybe you'll get to do what I never could." Lily thought about that promise every time she practiced. Every time her fingers stumbled over a difficult passage and she wanted to give up, she remembered her grandmother's words and tried again. The cafeteria bell rang, jolting Lily back to reality. She gathered her lunch bag and stood up, joining the stream of students heading back to class. As she passed Ashley's table, she heard the giggling start up again. "Nice shoes," someone said, just loud enough for her to hear. More laughter followed. Lily kept walking. Let them laugh. Let them think whatever they wanted to think. In a few hours, she'd be back at her piano, and their opinions would mean nothing. What Lily didn't know, couldn't possibly know yet, was that everything was about to change. In 3 days, Principal Foster would make an announcement that would set everything in motion. An announcement about the annual Spring Talent Showcase. An announcement that would give Lily a choice. Stay invisible and safe, or step into the light and risk everything. But that was still 3 days away. For now, Lily just walked to her next class, her fingers already moving in her pockets, playing the music that never stopped running through her head, the music that made her different, the music that made her strange, the music that would soon make everyone see her in a completely different way. Friday morning started like any other day. Lily walked through the school doors with her head down, trying to make herself as small and invisible as possible. The hallways were crowded with students, laughing and shoving each other, making plans for the weekend, living their normal lives. She was almost to her locker when she noticed something different. There was an energy in the air, an excitement buzzing through the conversations around her. Groups of students clustered near the main bulletin board, pointing and talking animatedly. "Are you going to sign up?" someone asked. "Obviously. I've been practicing my routine for weeks. This is going to be so much fun." Lily edged closer, curious despite herself. A bright yellow poster had been tacked to the center of the bulletin board, and Principal Foster's signature sat at the bottom in blue ink. "Annual Spring Showcase Talent Competition," the poster announced in bold letters. "Show us what you've got. All students welcome. Grand prize, trophy, $200 gift card, and a feature in the school newsletter. Auditions in 3 weeks." Lily's heart started beating faster. A talent show. A real stage. A real piano. She read through the details twice, then 3 times. Any student could sign up. They'd have 5 minutes to perform whatever talent they wanted to showcase. There would be judges, an audience, the whole school watching. The actual performance would be in the auditorium, which meant they'd use the beautiful grand piano that sat on the stage, the one that was usually kept locked and covered. For a moment, just a brief, shining moment, Lily let herself imagine it. Walking onto that stage, sitting at that grand piano, playing something beautiful while everyone watched. Then reality crashed back in. "Oh my gosh, I'm totally doing this." Ashley's voice cut through Lily's daydream. She'd appeared with her usual group of friends, all of them looking at the poster with excited expressions. "I've been taking dance classes since I was 4. This trophy is basically mine already. You're going to be amazing," one of her friends gushed. "Nobody can beat you." "Well, obviously," Ashley said with a laugh. "I mean, look at the competition. Who else in this school has actual talent?" They all giggled. and Lily stepped back, making herself invisible again. Ashley was probably right. She'd seen videos of Ashley's dance performances on social media. She was good. Really good. Trained. Professional. The kind of polished performer that judges loved. Lily was just a girl who'd taught herself piano in a storage room, who'd learned from free internet videos and library books, who practiced on an out-of-tune upright that was probably older than her mom. She started to walk away, but her feet wouldn't quite move. The chance to really play, to share what she'd been working on for months, to show everyone that she was more than just the weird, poor girl in the corner. Before she could talk herself out of it, Lily pulled out the pen she kept in her backpack and signed her name on the sign-up sheet hanging next to the poster. Her handwriting looked small and shaky next to all the confident signatures already there. "Did you just sign up?" Lily jumped. Ashley had noticed. Of course she had. Yeah, Lily said quietly, already regretting everything. Ashley looked at the sign-up sheet, then back at Lily with an expression of pure disbelief. "You? For the talent show? What are you going to do? Tap dance, in those raggedy shoes?" Several people nearby stopped their conversations to listen. Lily felt her face getting hot. "Piano," she managed to say. "I'm going to play piano." The words hung in the air for a second. Then, Ashley started laughing. Not a little chuckle, but a real, loud laugh that made everyone turn to look. "Piano? You play piano?" Ashley pulled out her phone, already recording. "Lily Chen plays piano. Everyone. This is going to be absolutely hilarious. I didn't know she even knew what a piano was," someone said. "Has anyone ever even heard her play? This is going to be so cringe." Lily wanted to disappear. She wanted to erase her name from that list and run out of the school and never come back. But her feet were frozen to the floor, and all she could do was stand there while Ashley's phone camera pointed at her face, recording her humiliation for everyone to see later. "What are you going to play?" Ashley asked, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "Chopsticks? Twinkle, twinkle, little star?" "Rachmaninoff," Lily heard herself say. The word came out before she could stop it. "Piano Concerto. Number 2. The hallway went quiet. Even Ashley stopped laughing for a second. "You don't even know what that is, do you?" Ashley said finally. "You just made that up." "It's one of the hardest pieces in classical piano," Lily said, her voice stronger now. "And I've been practicing it for 2 months." It was true. She'd been working on the piece obsessively, staying at the community center until Mr. Chen had to kick her out at closing time. Her fingers had calluses from the hours of practice. She'd played it so many times that she heard it in her dreams. Ashley rolled her eyes. "Sure you have. This is going to be the most entertaining audition ever. I can't wait to watch you fail, in front of everyone." She turned to her friends. "Make sure you all come to the auditions. We need to see this disaster." 2. They walked away, laughing, and Ashley immediately started typing on her phone. Within minutes, Lily knew. The whole school would know. The weird girl thought she could play piano. The poor girl with the torn jacket thought she could compete with people who'd had actual lessons. By lunchtime, it was even worse than she'd imagined. Her phone buzzed constantly with notifications. Someone had created a meme using a photo of her from last year's yearbook, her expression awkward and caught off guard. The caption read, "When you sign up for the talent show, but your only talent is being invisible." It had been shared 43 times. Another post showed a badly edited image of her sitting at a toy piano, the kind made for toddlers. Breaking news. Local girl discovers music. Thinks she's a concert pianist. The comments were brutal. Laughing emojis. Predictions of failure. People tagging their friends to make sure they witnessed what was clearly going to be an embarrassing disaster. Lily sat in the bathroom during lunch, her phone clutched in her trembling hands, reading comment after comment. Each one felt like a physical hit. Maybe they were right. Maybe she was delusional to think she could actually do this. Maybe she should just withdraw her name and forget the whole thing. She pulled up the video Ashley had posted that morning. It already had over 200 views. In it, Lily looked small and scared, her voice barely audible as she said, "Rachmaninoff." The comments underneath were merciless. "This is going to be so painful to watch. Someone please save us from this second-hand embarrassment. Why would she do this to herself? Can we vote people off the sign-up sheet?" Lily closed her eyes and leaned against the cold bathroom tile. Part of her wanted to cry. Part of her wanted to march down to that bulletin board and cross her name off the list. Part of her wanted to transfer schools and start over somewhere nobody knew her. But another part of her, a small, stubborn part that sounded like her grandmother's voice, whispered something different. Show them. Prove them wrong. Let the music speak. The bathroom door opened, and two girls walked in, their voices echoing off the tiles. "Did you see that post about the talent show? That girl who thinks she can play piano? Oh my God, yes. Ashley sent it to everyone. This is going to be so awkward." Lily held her breath, staying completely still in her stall until they left. Then she finally allowed herself to cry. Silent tears running down her face as she sat on the closed toilet seat, with her backpack clutched to her chest. Outside that bathroom, the mockery continued. Inside her head, a decision was forming. A terrifying, thrilling, absolutely crazy decision. She wasn't going to withdraw her name. She was going to practice harder than ever before. And in 3 weeks, she was going to walk onto that stage and show every single one of them what real talent looked like. Even if her hands were shaking. Even if her heart was pounding. Even if the entire school was waiting to watch her fail. The afternoon bell rang, echoing through the bathroom. Lily wiped her eyes, shouldered her backpack, and walked out into the hallway with her head held just a little bit higher than before. She had a piano to practice on, and only 3 weeks to get ready for the most important performance of her life. The night before the showcase, Lily stood in the storage room at the community center, staring at the piano like it was a stranger she'd never met before. Her hands hung at her sides, refusing to move. The fluorescent light above flickered the way it always did, casting shadows that danced across the yellowed keys. She should be practicing. She should be running through the piece one more time, making sure every note was perfect. Instead, she just stood there, frozen. The past 3 weeks had been the hardest of her life. Every single day at school had been torture. Ashley and her friends made sure of it. They'd created a countdown on social media. 3 weeks, until the most embarrassing moment in Riverside Middle School history. Then 2 weeks. Then 1 week. Then days. The posts kept coming. Someone made a fake movie poster calling it Disaster, the Musical. Another person started a poll asking what would happen first, Lily running off stage crying, or the piano spontaneously catching fire from how bad the performance would be. The poll had over 300 votes. Even some of the teachers looked at her with pity now. Mrs. Henderson, her English teacher, had pulled her aside after class one day. "Lily, honey, are you sure about this talent show? There's no shame in changing your mind. Maybe next year, when you've had more time to prepare?" Lily had just nodded and walked away, but the words stung. Nobody believed in her. Not a single person thought she could actually do this. The worst part was that she was starting to believe them. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, even though she knew she shouldn't. Another notification from the school's social media group. Another post. She clicked on it against her better judgment. It was a video compilation someone had made, set to circus music. They'd taken clips from various talent shows on the internet. All the moments where performers had failed spectacularly. People falling. Instruments breaking. Voices cracking on high notes. At the end, they'd photoshopped Lily's face onto one of the failing performers with the caption, "Tomorrow's main event." The video had been posted 20 minutes ago and already had 67 likes and 34 comments. Lily scrolled through them, each one feeling like a punch to the gut. I almost feel bad for her. Why hasn't someone stopped her yet? My mom is making popcorn for this, treating it like a comedy show, taking bets on how long before she gives up and runs away. Lily's vision blurred. Her hands started shaking so badly she nearly dropped her phone. She set it down on the piano bench and backed away from it, like it might bite her. Maybe they were right. Maybe this whole thing was a massive mistake. She was just a 12-year-old girl who'd taught herself piano from internet videos. She'd never had a real lesson in her life. Never performed in front of anyone, except Mr. Chen, who popped his head into the storage room occasionally to tell her she sounded lovely. What was she thinking? Trying to play Rachmaninoff. Professional pianists trained for years to master that piece. She'd been playing for 4 months. 4 months. It was insane. It was delusional. It was going to be the most humiliating experience of her entire life. Her breathing got faster. The storage room suddenly felt too small, the walls pressing in on her. She couldn't do this. She couldn't walk onto that stage tomorrow in front of the whole school, and Ashley's phone cameras, and all those people waiting to watch her fail. She had to withdraw. Right now. Tonight. She could email Principal Foster and make up some excuse. Say she was sick. Say there was a family emergency. Say anything to get out of this nightmare she'd created for herself. Lily grabbed her backpack and headed for the door. Her hand was on the handle when she saw it. The photo she'd taped to the wall 4 months ago, right above the piano. It had gotten dusty and the edges were curling. But she could still see her grandmother's face clearly. The photo was old, taken decades ago, in a different country. A different life. In it, her grandmother sat at a piano in an elegant concert hall, wearing a beautiful dress. Her hands poised over the keys, her expression peaceful and proud. Lily had found the photo in a box after her grandmother died. Her mom had cried when she saw it. "I forgot this existed," she'd whispered. "Your grandmother gave up so much when we came here. She never complained, but I know she missed it. The music, the performing, being who she really was." Lily let go of the door handle. She walked slowly back to the piano and picked up the photo, holding it carefully in both hands. Her grandmother had been a real pianist. A trained, talented, accomplished musician who'd performed in actual concert halls for real audiences. And she'd given it all up, not because she wanted to, but because she had to. Because survival mattered more than dreams. Because putting food on the table was more important than putting hands on piano keys. "Maybe you'll be the one to bring music back to our family," her grandmother had told her. "Maybe you'll get to do what I never could." Lily set the photo down gently. She pulled out her phone and looked at all those cruel messages again. But this time, instead of feeling defeated, she felt something else rising up inside her. Something hot and fierce and determined. These people didn't know her. They didn't know how many hours she'd spent in this room, her fingers aching, her back sore from sitting on the wobbly bench. They didn't know about the blisters she'd gotten from practicing the same difficult passage 200 times in a row until she got it right. They didn't know about the music theory books she'd checked out from the library, reading them during lunch while everyone laughed at her. They didn't know about the notebook she kept where she wrote down every mistake she made and how to fix it. They thought she was a joke. They thought this was going to be entertainment. A funny story to tell at lunch on Monday. They had no idea what was coming. Lily sat down at the piano bench, settling into the spot where she always sat, the place where the wobble was smallest. She put her hands on the keys, feeling the familiar coolness of the ivory, the way certain keys were smoother than others from years of use. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Then, she began to play. The opening notes of Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2 filled the small storage room. Her fingers moved across the keys with a confidence that had taken 3 weeks of constant practice to build. She'd played this piece so many times that her hands knew what to do without her brain having to think about it. The music swelled and grew, moving from soft and delicate to powerful and commanding. This was the part that had given her trouble at first, where her hands had to stretch further than they wanted to go. where the tempo increased and everything had to be perfectly precise. But now, her fingers flew across the keys, hitting every note exactly right. She poured everything into the music. Every cruel comment, every mocking laugh, every moment of loneliness and rejection, every time someone had treated her like she was less than them because her clothes weren't new or her shoes were worn out. Every single second of the past 3 weeks when she'd wanted to give up, it all went into the music, transforming from pain into something beautiful and powerful and true. The piece required both strength and delicacy. Moments of thundering intensity, followed by passages so soft and gentle they were, almost whispers. Lily had learned every single one. She'd practiced until her mother had to force her to come home for dinner. She'd dreamed about this music, woken up with melodies in her head, hummed it under her breath during math class. When she reached the final section, the part that always made her heart race because it was so technically difficult, her hands didn't hesitate. The notes cascaded like water, like light, like everything she'd ever wanted to say but didn't have the words for. The last chord rang out, echoing in the small storage room, slowly fading into silence. Lily opened her eyes. Her hands were shaking again, but not from fear this time. From adrenaline. From the sheer power of what she'd just done. She could do this. She could actually do this. Tomorrow, she would walk onto that stage. She would sit at that grand piano in front of the entire school, and she would show them all exactly who she really was. Not the weird girl, not the poor girl, not the girl who didn't belong, just a girl with music in her soul and the courage to share it with a world that had already decided she would fail. Lily looked at her grandmother's photo one more time. "This is for you," she whispered, "and for me. For all the people who were told they weren't good enough." She packed up her things, turned off the flickering light, and locked the storage room door behind her. Tomorrow would change everything. One way or another, nothing would ever be the same again. The question was whether she was ready for it. The auditorium was packed. Every single seat was filled, and students lined the walls when they ran out of places to sit. Lily peeked through the backstage curtain, her stomach doing somersaults. She'd never seen the auditorium this crowded, not even for the winter concert or the school play. They'd all come to watch her fail. She could hear the buzz of conversation, punctuated by laughter. Someone in the third row was showing their phone to the people around them. Probably another meme about her. The energy in the room felt electric, anticipatory, like people waiting for a fireworks show to start. "Nervous?" Mr. Chen appeared beside her, his kind face creased with concern. He'd come to support her, sitting in the back row where she could see him if she needed to. "You're going to do wonderfully. I've heard you practice." Lily nodded, not trusting her voice. Her hands felt clammy and cold. Her heart was beating so fast she wondered if everyone could hear it. The showcase had started 30 minutes ago. She'd watched from backstage as performer after performer took the stage. A boy who did magic tricks, a girl who sang a pop song, 3 friends who performed a comedy sketch. Every act got applause, some more enthusiastic than others. Then Ashley had taken the stage. Lily had to admit it. Ashley was incredible. Her contemporary dance routine was polished and professional, every movement precise and graceful. She wore a sparkly costume that probably cost more than Lily's entire wardrobe. The music was dramatic, the choreography complex. When Ashley finished with a perfect split, the auditorium erupted in applause and cheers. Her friends in the front row jumped to their feet, screaming and clapping. Ashley had walked off stage with a confident smile, not even breathing hard. As she passed Lily in the wings, she'd whispered just loud enough for Lily to hear, "Good luck following that. You're going to need it." Lily. Now there were only 2 more performers before Lily's turn. A boy was currently on stage playing guitar, his fingers stumbling slightly over the chords. The audience was polite, but not particularly enthusiastic. Then came a pair of girls doing a cheerleading routine, their synchronized movements getting decent applause. Next up, Principal Foster's voice boomed through the microphone. "We have Lily Chen performing on piano." The applause that followed was different from what the other performers had received. It was mixed with laughter and whispers. Lily heard someone say loudly, "Finally!" Her legs felt like jelly as she walked from the wings onto the stage. The lights were so bright, she could barely see the audience, but she could feel hundreds of eyes on her. She heard more laughter, not even bothered to be quiet. Someone whistled, but not the good kind of whistle, the mocking kind. Lily looked down at herself. Her dress was the one her mother wore to job interviews, altered to fit Lily's smaller frame. The hem was uneven, where her mom had sewn it, and there was a small stain near the collar that they'd tried to cover with a pin. Her glasses, still held together with tape at the corner, reflected the stage lights. Her shoes were her regular everyday shoes because they didn't have money for fancy performance shoes. She looked exactly like what she was, a poor girl pretending to be something she wasn't. "This is going to be painful," someone said from the audience, loud enough for everyone to hear. More laughter rippled through the crowd. Lily walked to the grand piano that sat center stage. It was beautiful. Probably the nicest instrument she'd ever seen in person. The wood was polished to a shine, and when she lifted the fallboard, the keys were pristine, white and black, perfectly maintained. She sat on the bench and adjusted it to the right height. Her hands were trembling so badly, she had to press them against her thighs to make them stop. Through the glare of the lights, she could see phones pointed at her. Recording. Ashley sat in the second row, her phone held high, making sure she captured every moment of what was clearly going to be a disaster. Principal Foster leaned toward the microphone. "Lily will be performing Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2. A few people in the audience snickered. Someone made a comment she couldn't quite hear, but whatever it was, made several people laugh. Lily closed her eyes. She thought about the storage room at the community center, the flickering light, the out-of-tune piano, the hundreds of hours she'd spent there, alone with just the music. She thought about her grandmother, young and confident in that old photograph, sitting at a piano in a real concert hall. She thought about every cruel comment, every mocking laugh, every person who'd decided she wasn't worth believing in. She thought about the girl she'd been 3 weeks ago, terrified and small, wanting to be invisible, and she thought about the girl she'd become, the one who'd practiced until her fingers bled, who'd pushed through doubt and fear and the weight of everyone's expectations of her failure. Lily put her fingers on the keys. The ivory felt cool and smooth under her skin, so different from the worn keys at the community center. She took one deep breath, then another. Then she began to play. The opening notes of the concerto filled the auditorium. Soft at first, almost hesitant, the way the piece was written. A few people in the audience shifted in their seats, still waiting for her to mess up, but Lily didn't mess up. Her fingers moved across the keys, with a confidence that surprised even her. The notes flowed like they'd been waiting inside the piano all along, just waiting for someone to set them free. The music grew louder, more complex. This was the part where her left hand had to play a complicated bass line, while her right hand danced across the higher notes. She'd practiced this section thousands of times, and her hands knew exactly what to do. The laughter in the audience stopped. The whispers faded away. Lily kept playing, her entire body moving with the music. The piece required her to lean into the keys for the powerful sections, then pull back for the delicate moments. Her fingers stretched and reached, finding every note exactly where it needed to be. She wasn't in the auditorium anymore. She was somewhere else entirely, somewhere made entirely of music. Every emotion she'd bottled up for the past 3 weeks, the past 12 years, came pouring out through her fingers. The loneliness of sitting by herself at lunch, the shame of wearing the same clothes over and over, the exhaustion of pretending that the cruel words didn't hurt, the desperate hope that someday, somehow, things would be different. It was all there in the music. The concerto moved through its different sections, each one more demanding than the last. There was a part about 2 minutes in where the tempo increased dramatically, where most pianists stumbled because the notes came so fast. Lily's fingers flew across the keys, hitting every single note with perfect precision. In the audience, mouths were falling open. Ashley's phone was still recording, but her confident smirk had disappeared, replaced by an expression of pure shock. The girl next to her had literally stopped chewing her gum. In the back row, Mr. Chen had tears running down his face. Principal Foster stood frozen at the side of the stage, his planned announcements forgotten. The music built to a crescendo, Lily's hands moving so fast they were almost a blur. This was the part she'd been most worried about, the technically difficult section that had taken her 2 weeks to master. But now, on this stage, with the acoustics of the auditorium making every note ring out perfectly, her hands didn't hesitate for even a second. The emotional weight of the piece was overwhelming. It wasn't just notes on a page anymore. It was a story. It was pain, and hope, and struggle, and triumph, all woven together. It was everything Lily had never been able to say out loud, expressed in a language that needed no words. Students who'd been laughing minutes ago sat perfectly still, completely mesmerized. Some had tears in their eyes. Others looked like they'd forgotten how to breathe. Lily reached the final section, the part she'd played in the storage room just last night. Her fingers pressed down on the keys with power and precision, the chords ringing out through the auditorium like bells. The music swelled one last time, massive and overwhelming and beautiful. Then came the final notes. Soft again, bringing the piece full circle. Gentle, peaceful, like someone exhaling after holding their breath for too long. Lily played the last chord. The sound hung in the air, slowly fading, the vibrations of the strings gradually going silent. She lifted her hands from the keys. The auditorium was completely quiet. Not a sound, not a whisper, not even breathing, or so it seemed. Lily opened her eyes and looked out at the audience. For 3 seconds that felt like forever, nobody moved. Everyone just stared at her, frozen in their seats. Then someone started clapping. Just one person at first, then another, then more. Within seconds, the entire auditorium exploded into applause. It was deafening, overwhelming, like thunder rolling through the room. People jumped to their feet, clapping so hard their hands must have hurt. The noise was incredible. Lily sat frozen at the piano, unable to process what was happening. This wasn't mocking applause. This wasn't polite applause. This was real. They were standing for her, cheering for her. Teachers were crying openly. Students who'd laughed at her 3 minutes ago were on their feet, clapping and cheering. Even Ashley stood there with her phone still recording, but her face had gone pale, her mouth hanging open in disbelief. Principal Foster rushed onto the stage, his own eyes red. He grabbed the microphone with shaking hands. That was, his voice cracked, that was absolutely extraordinary. The applause got even louder. Lily finally managed to stand up from the piano bench, her legs shaking so badly she thought she might fall. She looked out at all those faces, all those people who'd been so sure she would fail, and realized something had just shifted. Everything had changed. In the space of 5 minutes, everything had completely changed. The applause seemed to last forever. Lily stood on that stage, her heart pounding, barely able to believe what was happening. People were actually standing and cheering for her, for the girl they'd spent 3 weeks mocking, for the performance they'd all come to laugh at. Principal Foster had to wait almost a full minute before the crowd quieted down enough for him to speak again. When he finally could, his voice was thick with emotion. In all my years as an educator, he said, gripping the microphone, I have never witnessed anything quite like what we just experienced. That was absolutely remarkable. Lily, that was truly exceptional. Another wave of applause rolled through the auditorium. Lily managed a small, uncertain smile, still trying to process everything. Her hands were still shaking, but now it was from adrenaline rather than fear. As she walked off stage, her legs felt disconnected from her body. She made it to the wings and collapsed onto a folding chair someone had set up. Mr. Chen was there immediately, his face beaming. "I knew you could do it," he said, his voice breaking slightly. "I always knew." The rest of the showcase continued, but Lily barely registered it. Other performers went on, did their acts, received their applause. But the energy in the room had shifted. People kept turning around to look at the wings where Lily sat, whispering and pointing. When the last performance ended, Principal Foster returned to announce the winners. Third place went to the boy with the magic tricks. Second place went to Ashley for her dance routine. She walked up to receive her ribbon with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, her earlier confidence visibly shaken. And first place, Principal Foster paused dramatically, goes to Lily Chen for that absolutely stunning piano performance. The auditorium erupted again. Lily walked back onto the stage in a daze. Principal Foster handed her a trophy that felt surprisingly heavy, a certificate, and an envelope with the gift card. She stared at them like they were objects from another planet. "Would you like to say anything?" Principal Foster asked, holding the microphone toward her. Lily looked out at the audience. All those faces. Some were smiling genuinely now. Some still looked shocked. She found Ashley in the second row, and their eyes met for a moment. Ashley looked away first. Lily's voice came out scratchy, and she had to clear her throat. "I just want to say thank you. And that, if you love something enough, if you work hard enough, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. The music is what matters." It wasn't a long speech or a particularly eloquent one, but the applause that followed was warm and real. The next few hours were a blur. Students who'd never spoken to her before came up to congratulate her. Teachers shook her hand and asked about her training. Mrs. Henderson, who'd suggested she drop out just a week ago, apologized with tears in her eyes. "I underestimated you," she said simply. "I'm sorry." That was breathtaking, but the most surreal moment came when Ashley approached her in the hallway after everyone had left. Her friends were nowhere to be seen. She stood there awkwardly, her second-place ribbon clutched in one hand, her phone in the other. Ashley started, then stopped. She looked down at her shoes, her confident facade completely gone. "You're really good. Like, really, really good. I didn't know. You never asked," Lily said quietly. Ashley nodded slowly. "I know. I was." She paused, seeming to struggle with the words. "I was mean to you. Really mean. And I'm sorry. What I did, what I said, the things I posted, that was wrong." Lily didn't know what to say. Part of her wanted to tell Ashley exactly how much those 3 weeks had hurt, how many nights she'd cried, how close she'd come to giving up. But another part of her was just tired. Tired of the anger and the pain and the whole exhausting cycle of it all. "Okay," Lily said finally. "Thank you for apologizing. It wasn't forgiveness, not exactly. But it was a start." Ashley nodded and walked away, and Lily felt something loosen in her chest. Something she'd been carrying for a long time. The story didn't end there, though. It actually got bigger in ways Lily never could have imagined. That night, the video of her performance started spreading online. Not the mocking posts from before, but the actual footage of her playing. Ashley had posted it first, surprisingly, with a caption that simply said, "I was wrong. This girl is incredible." Other people shared it. Then people from other schools. Then local news pages. By Monday morning, the video had over 50,000 views. By Tuesday, it had 500,000. People from all over the country were watching this 12-year-old girl play Rachmaninoff on her middle school stage. The comments were overwhelming. Professional pianists leaving detailed compliments about her technique, music teachers asking how she'd learned to play like that, parents showing the video to their kids as proof that hard work and dedication mattered more than expensive lessons. "This is what raw talent looks like," one comment said. "She taught herself? That's insane." "I've been taking lessons for 8 years and can't play half that well," said another. The way the entire audience went from laughing to dead silent. That's the power of real skill. Local news stations wanted to interview her. A journalist from the city newspaper came to her house with a photographer. They did a whole feature about the girl who practiced on an old piano in a community center storage room and shocked her entire school. But the moment that changed everything happened 2 weeks after the showcase. Principal Foster called Lily down to his office, and when she got there was a woman waiting with him. She was elegantly dressed, with kind eyes and an official-looking folder in her hands. "Lily, this is Miss Rodriguez," Principal Foster said, practically vibrating with excitement. Lily's heart stopped. The City Conservatory was the most prestigious music school in the entire state. Students who went there went on to study at Juilliard, to play in symphony orchestras, to become professional musicians. Miss Rodriguez smiled warmly. "I was at your performance," she said. "I actually came to see my niece perform, but then you played, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Lily, students who've trained for years can't play Rachmaninoff like that. What you did on that stage was extraordinary." Lily could barely breathe. "Thank you," she whispered. "I want to offer you a full scholarship to our summer intensive program," Miss Rodriguez continued. "And if things go well, a full scholarship to attend the conservatory for high school. We'll provide everything. Lessons with master teachers, access to practice rooms with professional instruments, performance opportunities. Everything you need to develop this incredible gift you have." The room spun. Lily grabbed the edge of Principal Foster's desk to steady herself. A full scholarship, real training, the chance to study with actual professionals. Her voice came out choked. "I would love that, more than anything." Miss Rodriguez's smile widened. "Wonderful. I'll be in touch with your mother to work out the details." Over the following months, Lily's life transformed in ways she'd never dreamed possible. She started classes at the conservatory that summer. The other students there were talented and driven, but they treated her with respect. Some even looked up to her after seeing her viral video. The conservatory gave her access to beautiful instruments. She practiced on grand pianos that were perfectly tuned, in rooms with amazing acoustics. But she never forgot about the storage room at the community center. She still went there sometimes, to that old upright piano with its yellowed keys and flickering light. Mr. Chen always smiled when he saw her. "You haven't forgotten about us," he'd say. "Never," Lily would respond. This is where it all started. She began teaching, too. Working with younger kids at the community center who couldn't afford lessons. Kids who felt like outsiders, like they didn't belong, like nobody believed in them. She taught them music, but she also taught them something more important. "It doesn't matter where you start," she told them. "It doesn't matter what other people say about you, or what they think you can't do. What matters is what you believe about yourself. What matters is the work you put in when nobody's watching. What matters is finding your voice and having the courage to share it." Back at school, things were different now. People said hello to her in the hallways. She made a few real friends. Other quiet kids who appreciated music and art and the things that made her different. Ashley and her group left her alone, which was fine with Lily. She didn't need their approval anymore. She'd never really needed it. Sometimes Lily thought about that day she'd signed up for the talent show, how terrified she'd been, how everyone had laughed, how she'd almost given up entirely the night before her performance. She was glad she hadn't. She was glad she'd walked onto that stage with shaking hands and worn-out shoes. She was glad she'd let the music speak when her voice couldn't find the words. Because that moment, that performance, hadn't just won her a trophy or a scholarship or viral fame. It had taught her the most important lesson of all, that the people who doubt you don't get to define you. That your worth isn't measured by their laughter or their mockery or their narrow view of who you're supposed to be. Your worth is measured by what you do when everyone expects you to fail. By the courage it takes to stand up and say, "Watch me prove you wrong." And on a stage in her middle school auditorium, with hundreds of people waiting to see her fall, Lily had done exactly that. She'd taken every ounce of doubt, every cruel comment, every moment of pain, and she'd transformed it into something beautiful, something that touched hearts and changed minds, and reminded people that talent and determination could come from the most unexpected places. Lily kept her grandmother's photograph on her music stand now, even at the conservatory. Before every performance, she looked at it and remembered. This was for both of them. For the woman who'd given up her dreams so her family could survive, and for the girl who'd been given the chance to make those dreams come alive again. For everyone who'd ever been told they weren't good enough, who'd been laughed at or dismissed, or treated like they were invisible. The music had always been inside her. All she'd needed was the courage to let it out.